depression. When it rains, it pours. Yeah, well, it's pouring over here where I am because we have temperatures in the low 20s. It snowed probably 6 or 8 inches of slush yesterday, and I have a whole list of car things that I have to do, not that I want to do. And like I've said before, it kind of sucks when you have to do it in a hurry and the weather's not cooperating, but we're going to try to bang them out anyway. Yesterday I got a report from my father-in-law. My son took his K5 over to see his grandfather and parked in the driveway, and when he left a stain in the driveway. You know how old guys are, especially grandfathers, right? They have that clean asphalt driveway. Well, guess what? Robbie left a stain. And he said the stain was probably about this big around, and he said it looked like the colors of the rainbow in it. So I'm thinking antifreeze. I don't know. We'll see. It hasn't been overheating on him. Hasn't been running hot. He said it's been fine. So I asked him to leave it at home and take my truck, and he parked it in the driveway about 2 hours ago. And we're going to check it out and see what's leaking, where it's coming from, and what we got to do. All right. Well, looking at everything looks pretty good. Thought we were going to see some antifreeze leaking just from the description, and at first look, his overflow is way down, but it appears that the overflow is leaking. But that stuff would have leaked out when we first did the antifreeze, so that's not going to be the source of the puddle. Antifreeze is at a good level. Well, coolant, depending on what part of the country you're from. Not leaking any power steering fluid. That's full. You just got a little bit of sweat coming from the hose. That's normal, though. That's not dripping at all. Even his washer fluid's not leaking. Everything up top is pretty dry. Valve covers look dry. Side of the heads don't look bad from what I could see in the front and on the sides. Let me look underneath. Underneath the truck looks pretty clean too. You know, the transmission's dry. It's got a few little oil drips, but nothing crazy. Thought I would have bet it would have been antifreeze leaking from somewhere, the radiator or a hose. Brake lines all look good. Master cylinder looks good. Alright, so checking under the truck didn't really show anything. I do see some oil dripping. You know, it looks like above the bell housing. So it could be the back of the valve cover gaskets on just the back side, because I can see the sides of the heads and there's nothing there. Can't see the backs. And you know, right there behind the intake is your oil pressure sending switch. And sometimes if they're not put in good, they can leak. But I can't really see back there now. It doesn't appear, they didn't leak anything in the driveway while it was sitting here the last couple hours. So I'm a little stumped. I checked the oil. The oil was down about 3/4 of a quart. We haven't checked it since we did the initial oil change when we first bought it, so I don't know whether it burned some oil or it's leaking oil. But there, you know, like I said, there is some wetness around the bell housing. It's not right at the bottom of the bell housing, so I'm not thinking the rear main, but it is some oil residue and dripping on the starter, on the passenger side, and on the driver's side. It's up high on the bell housing, so I'm kind of thinking that it's the back of the valve covers, either the back of the intake or the pressure sending switch. But it's been about 3 months, almost 3 months that he's been driving it. One oil change, you know, Christmas. Oh, it's about two months. It's a little over 2 months. He's been driving it. No issues. I don't see any real leaks other than a couple drips. In an old car, a couple drips is usually nothing. I leveled off the oil. You know, I put 3/4 of a quart back in it. We'll see how that does. I know now it's full. I know the date, how many miles, so we'll keep an eye on that. But it's just too cold to really address it any further. I'm going to start it up and warm it up, check the transmission fluid, but that was completely dry. Usually, you know, those 700 transmissions kind of leak a little bit too, but that was dry. The selector shaft seal is holding well, and the pan gasket is holding well. The rear seal, not even a drip from anywhere on the transmission, so I'm pretty happy with that. You know, what are you going to do? Can't explain why there was such a big stain there, unless there was a stain there and he didn't realize there was a stain there. It might have been a stain there from one of my other vehicles when my wife went over and parked in his driveway, and he just didn't realize it until my son left. That could be, because remember, we were leaking coolant in the blue Yukon that we did a water pump on not too long ago. So I'm going to start it up, warm it up, check the transmission fluid after I warm it up, and give it back to him with a sort of clean bill of health. A little bit of oil dripping I'm really not going to be too concerned with. I'll just keep an eye on it. And that's it. Hey, I'll tell my son, that's what it's like having an old vehicle. You know, he wanted to get something old, and 89 doesn't sound old to us guys, but 89 is driving an old car, and you got to keep an eye on it, and things do leak. And when the weather clears up and warms up, we'll go towards the back of that motor and see if we can figure out where that slow oil leak is coming from. I don't think that's the stain, though. Anyway, that's it today from Axel's Garage. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, and if you like what we're doing here at Axel's Garage, please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.